Emily, a determined woman in her early 50s, had always been the epitome of success and ambition. Working diligently in a high-profile financial institution, she had scaled the corporate ladder with her intelligence and relentless work ethic. Her latest achievement, a testament to her success, was the decision to treat herself to a luxury she had longed for, a brand new Tesla. The day she walked into the Tesla dealership was a day of triumph. The salesperson, recognizing her enthusiasm and knowledge, offered her a test drive. She was in love. After the test drive, without a second thought, she made the down payment. The next 2 months of waiting were filled with restless anticipation. Finally, the day arrived when Emily could claim her prize. She approached the Tesla, shining like a beacon of her accomplishments, and drove it to work. That evening, as dusk crept over the city, Emily decided to take the long, scenic route home. She wanted to relish every moment with her new car. The roads were less traveled here, winding through a more rural part of the outskirts. As night fell, the road grew darker, illuminated only by her car's headlights and the occasional street lamp. There was a haunting beauty to it, with the shadows of the trees casting a beautiful picture. Emily felt a sense of peace, the car gliding effortlessly along the road. The dashboard's LCD screen, which usually showed a clear view of the road and traffic information, suddenly flickered. A chill ran down Emily's spine. She blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light or perhaps a glitch. But then, it happened again. This time, the screen clearly showed an eerie image. A human figure standing at the roadside, looking directly at the car. Emily's heart raced. She quickly glanced outside, but there was no one there. Just the dark, empty road and the whispering trees. A cold unease settled in her stomach. She tried to brush it off as a technological malfunction or her imagination playing tricks in the dim light. But deep down, she couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. As she continued to drive, the road seemed to grow more sinister. She glanced at the dashboard screen again. It was normal now, showing nothing but the dark road ahead. Yet, the image of the figure, so vivid and unsettling, lingered in her mind. It was as if the car, her prized possession, had briefly opened a window to something unknown, something lurking in the darkness of the night road. Emily tried to focus on the drive, on the smooth feel of the car, but a sense of dread had settled in. A few weeks after her unsettling encounter, Emily found herself once again on the dreaded side road. The highway was blocked due to an unforeseen accident, and she had no choice but to take the longer, more isolated route home. The memory of her previous journey lingered in her mind, casting a shadow over her usual confidence. As she drove, the night seemed to press in around her, the darkness more consuming than she remembered. The trees along the roadside swayed eerily in the wind. Emily's heart raced, each beat echoing loudly in the silent car. Suddenly, the Tesla's LCD screen flickered again, displaying the same haunting image of a human figure standing at the road's edge. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She swiftly turned her head to confirm her fears, but as before, there was no one there. A sense of déjà vu overwhelmed her, a chilling reminder of the ghostly apparition she had tried so hard to forget. But then, something shifted in the passenger seat. Emily turned, her blood turning to ice. There, sitting beside her, was a ghostly figure, its features blurred but unmistakably human. Its eyes, hollow and dark, stared right at her. Emily's scream tore through the silence of the night, a sound of pure terror. She wrestled with the steering wheel, trying to maintain control as the car swerved wildly on the deserted road. Finally, the car came to a jarring stop. Without thinking, Emily flung open the door and bolted out, her heart pounding in her chest. She ran a few steps, her breath ragged, before the realization hit her. There was nowhere to go. The darkness was oppressive and she was alone on a desolate road. Trembling, Emily fumbled for her phone, using it as a makeshift flashlight. Its feeble light cut through the darkness, and with a deep breath, she slowly approached the car. The door was still ajar. As her light swept over the interior, she saw that the passenger seat was empty. The ghost had vanished. Relief washed over her for a brief moment, until she heard a faint rustling sound nearby. Panic surged within her. Without a second thought, Emily dashed back into the car, slammed the door shut, and sped away, leaving the haunting darkness of the side road behind her. Months passed, but the memory of that night haunted Emily. Despite her fear, a part of her was drawn to that road, a morbid curiosity to confront the unknown. So, once more, she found herself driving down the same side road. This time, however, there was a palpable sense of anticipation in the air. As Emily drove, the ghostly figure suddenly materialized in the passenger seat. It let out a blood-curdling scream, a sound so terrifying that Emily felt her heart might stop. Tears streamed down her face, a mixture of fear and disbelief.
What are you?
The ghost, seemingly taken aback, tilted its head.
You can see me?
It asked, a ghostly voice yet clear in the silent car. Emily, sobbing and trembling with fear, managed to nod.
Of course I can.
She replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure seemed puzzled, its spectral form flickering like a faulty light. It was a moment suspended in time between a living woman and a restless spirit, facing each other in a car that had become a bridge between two worlds. In the aftermath of their terrifying encounter, Emily found herself inexplicably drawn to the ghostly figure of Jonathan. He was once a young man with big dreams and aspirations, but a hit-and-run accident on the same road that is now holding him captive tragically ended his life. Bound to the stretch of asphalt and darkness, Jonathan had spent decades invisible to the living, his voice unheard, his presence unnoticed. As Emily engaged in hesitant conversations with him, her initial terror turned into a strange sense of curiosity. Jonathan was not just a phantom ghost. He was a soul frozen in time, a reminder of a life that once was. During one of these meetings, Jonathan's demeanor shifted. His usual expression was tinged with guilt as he revealed a haunting secret. He wasn't just a passive observer of the passing cars. Over the years, he has caused numerous accidents to other drivers.
I saw the car, a lone traveler, navigating the narrow route on a night similar to this one. I stood waiting for the car and let loose an intense burst of light and a terrifying noise, driven by my isolation and the curse that bound me to this road. The driver, caught off guard, let out a terrified scream. Panic took over, and in a frenzied attempt to escape the terror, they swerved violently, out of control, smashing into a nearby tree.
He paused, the weight of his actions evident in his ghostly voice.
That night, the road claimed another soul, and I, in my selfish misery, became further entrapped in this cursed existence.
In the dim light of the car's interior, Emily listened, her heart heavy with empathy. The sorrow in Jonathan's ethereal eyes was unmistakable. His revelation brought forth her own hidden truth, a secret buried deep within her conscience, thinking it would help him feel better. With a trembling voice, Emily confessed to Jonathan that her life wasn't as flawless as it appeared. She too was connected to this cursed road in a way she had never admitted to anyone. She shared with Jonathan her own secret. Years ago, as a reckless teenager driving a red Toyota, she had struck a deer on this very road. Overcome with fear and guilt, she fled the scene, telling no one of the incident. This secret, locked away for so long, had weighed heavily on her soul. A few weeks later, Emily wanted to check on Jonathan. The air was heavy that night. She once again drove herself on the cursed stretch of road. Jonathan was waiting for Emily, his ghostly form boiling with anger as she navigated the familiar road. The dark, lonely ghost she had spoken to had vanished. The figure of vengeance, whose presence was more terrifying than before, took his place. He was a dark, scary phantom who represented fury and revenge. Without warning, Jonathan unleashed his fury. With a deafening, enraged scream, he materialized before Emily's car. His terrifying visage, a twisted mask of anger and pain, filled her vision. Emily's scream echoed. Her hands trembled violently on the wheel, her heart pounding in her chest. In a flash of terror, Emily lost control. The car veered off the road at full speed, crashing into a tree, and Emily's world rolled quickly before plunging into silence. When Emily awoke, she was trapped in a twisted metal cocoon, with pain shooting through her body. Gasping for air, she managed to pry the door open and stumble out, her every movement agonizing. There, in front of her, stood Jonathan, his ghostly form now less menacing and more human.
What did you do?
She cried out, her voice a mix of pain and fear. Jonathan approached, his voice cold and devoid of the empathy he once showed.
You were the one who killed me decades ago.
He revealed, his words like daggers.
It wasn't a deer, it was me. You left me to die here, now it's your turn to suffer from your actions.
Emily's heart stopped. The horror of the revelation was overwhelming. Jonathan's form began to fade. He's at peace now, his spirit finally free from the shackles of the road. In a daze of shock and disbelief, she turned to look at her car. There, in the driver's seat, was her own lifeless body. Emily stood there, a ghostly figure beside her mangled car, staring at the life she had just left behind.